see you guys in the dark.
I looked through his cards and told him nothing I was interested in. He said he figured it because they were given to him, but he does not play. The next day, I go to the local game store to play Magic the Gathering. Guess who walks in? He offers to get a drink, and I decline. I tell him that I would add him on Facebook and message him if I change my mind. He gives me his name and looks over my shoulder while I type it in on the app. His face pops up, and I tap the profile. Then I see 500 mutual friends. I don't live anywhere near here. I've only been here 3 days. Then I think, oh, I'm friends with a lot of drag performers on Facebook. Maybe he is too. I add him, then leave. Once I get in my van, I get on Tinder. On the first time since I got there, I swipe, and I swipe, and I swipe. I pay the $4.99 to get more swipes. I swipe, and I swipe. I don't see him. Where is he? This Chris guy. 2 hours later, I find him. I open his profile, 500 mutual friends. I swipe right, nothing happens. It doesn't say you've got a match. Not only have we never matched, but he didn't even swipe on me. Was he trying to hide the profile? I felt like I kept seeing him that week. I didn't want it to cause me to change travel plans and leave early, but it started to freak me out. He would show up at the bar that I was going to or the game store when I was there, even though he told me he didn't play. I started to get really uneasy, so I checked his Facebook profile again. All the mutual friends were my close friends. My childhood friends, my family, my teachers, my coworkers. I couldn't handle it anymore and changed my entire winter plans to get out of the situation.
The night that we met was supposed to be the night that I killed myself. It was a cool fall evening, just warm enough for a light jacket. I was at a horse sale that I went to every month. Per usual, my friend and I checked out the tack lots and horses that were up for auction. Throughout the past few months, I had dealt with a lot of pain and hardship. My heart was as broken as it could be. All of my passion for the things that I enjoyed was gone. The girl that I once knew wasn't there anymore. I walked a long, dark road of depression, alone. I had no self-esteem anymore. I felt I was worth nothing. I planned to end it all after the sale. I was watching horses in the outdoor ring when one caught my eye. My friend was looking for a horse, and it seemed like it might be a match for her. I slipped into the ring to talk to the owner. When he turned around and looked at me, it was like the world stopped turning. The horses around me were in slow motion. Our eyes met, and every bone in my body went cold. I asked to try the horse out. He let me. Later on, my friend bought the horse. In the end, the horse didn't work out, but that's another story for another time. The owner was supposed to deliver the horse to them the next day. I didn't catch his name. I couldn't sleep that night, but the fact was, I was still here. I had to find out who that guy was. The next day I was out fishing on a river with my brother when my friend texted me his name, Matt. She had written a check out to him, so it all worked out. It wasn't long before I found him on Facebook, and it wasn't long before he messaged me and asked me on a date. I'll never forget that day. I spent the next week or so house-sitting for a high school friend. I invited him over for dinner towards the end of the week. I'd never been so nervous in my life. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I made shrimp pasta and vodka sauce that night. We clicked. He ended up letting me take his truck for a spin. When we got back to the house, we were sitting in the dark, talking, when he pulled me in for our first kiss. My heart had melted. I remember my eyes filled with tears because it all felt so right. I swore for so long that it was right. He stayed with me until 5 a.m. He was allergic to cats, otherwise he would have just stayed the night. The next few months seemed to be of pure bliss. The sex was phenomenal. The money that he blew on me, spoiling me, was crazy. I got everything that I could ever want. His family was loaded, and he wasn't afraid to show it. It wasn't until the honeymoon phase was over that I started noticing things. An ex-girlfriend reportedly texted him and told him that he had given her chlamydia. He then gave it to me. I was never skinny enough. My hair was never the right color. I didn't have any tattoos. I only had a few piercings. I was a waitress, drove a truck. I posted too many selfies. I texted him too much. I couldn't satisfy him anymore. He began dropping me off at the gym to work out while he ran errands, just about every single day. He became even more obsessed with porn than normal. A Tumblr blog, the whole 9 yards. He killed all of my hopes and dreams, one by one. If we were to be together, I could never ride racehorses for a living like I had wanted to my whole life. He started spending hours on end playing video games when I came over. He had used me for what he needed, and he was done with me. He taught himself how to build computers. He started building guns in the basement and fabricating and 3D printing some of his own parts for them. That should have been a red flag. About a month went by of him ignoring me, him telling me that I wasn't enough, and showing me pictures and videos of girls that he actually wanted. He told me that my family hated me. Everyone hated me. I became depressed once again. I started working more and more hours just to keep myself from thinking. One night I had finally had a mental breakdown. I told him about the night that we met, what I was supposed to have done that night, how he had saved me, and how much I loved him. His answer? He left me. The next morning he woke up and texted me saying that he had no feelings for me and I could come get my things. My world had fallen apart. I lost 25 pounds. I didn't eat for weeks. My parents became very concerned and didn't let me close my door. My dad got me a job riding racehorses. It started to look up. About a month later, I landed myself in the ICU with a severe concussion. When I woke up, I thought Matt and I were still together. I got on my phone to tell him that I was hurt when I saw the messages from the breakup. I fell apart again. A whole year had passed. I remained single. Matt had a few girlfriends. Somehow, I managed to keep myself together. At least it looked like that. I worked myself to death, bought a new car, and moved out at 20. I worked 2 jobs and about 75 hours a week. I kept myself pretty busy. I had my own Adderall, alcohol, weed cocktail that kept myself afloat. I'll be the first to admit that the drinking did start to get a bit out of hand. I was at my parents' visiting when I got a friend request from Matt on Facebook. I must have refreshed the page 10 times. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Despite my better interest, I had accepted it. He messaged me a little while later. He had made it through the police department and was now a county sheriff. He gave me a pretty lame apology, but I somehow accepted it. I knew in my heart that I wasn't over him. Not one bit. He took me to dinner that night and spent the night at my apartment. He actually made some good points about why he ended it with me. I started to forgive him. I shed a lot of tears that night. We started hanging out like old times again, but the same problems started to arise. Once again, I wasn't good enough for him. But there was something different about him this time. He became obsessed with picking locks. We'd be laying in bed watching a movie, and he'd be on his phone watching lock-picking videos. He complained about my dog a lot. He always joked that he would go missing one day. A few more weeks went by. It seemed like every once in a while his mask would vanish, but just for a second. I should have known that something was off when he sent me a text complaining about somebody dying in his arms at work. The body stunk, he said. He started driving like a nut. I vividly remember us going 163 miles per hour on a back road in his Mustang. He watched my reactions the whole time. He hardly looked at the road. We went to New York City for a few days. He took a gun into one of the World Trade Centers and got us kicked out. We got into a fight over the phone one night because he called me an explicit name. The next day, we met up to talk. During my drive to the meeting place, I was overwhelmed with a feeling of dread. I knew it was the end of us, but it was more than that. I wasn't sad. I was just frustrated. We talked for about 20 minutes, and I don't think his eyes ever wandered from my face. His 2 dark brown eyes shot through me like bullets. He started talking through his teeth, telling me that no one would ever love me, that he was in cahoots with my friends, and that they hated me too. I was going nowhere in life. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. His eyes were completely dead. It's something that I can never unsee. The way he was looking at me just gave me chills. The voice in my head started talking. Steph, get out of the car. Get out of the car now. I trusted my gut and got out. I hurried to my car, jumped in, and immediately locked it. I saw him staring at me in my rearview mirror. I drove straight to my parents' house, bawling. They were terrified. The next day, my boss told me that Matt had apparently been driving back and forth past my work, going outrageous speeds, almost like he was showing off. But the fact was, he lived almost an hour from there and had no reason to be there. I reported him to his precinct, who said that they could take care of it. I didn't hear from Matt for a very long time. I started to move on and feel like I was myself again. Finally, I started dating my current boyfriend. For the record, he is the best and most loving man that I've ever met in my life. Matt drunk texted me one night. I told him to just leave me alone. I had since moved an hour away since we broke up. I had started to feel safe yet again. One night my boyfriend was on his way over when he called to tell me that somebody had been tailgating him for 30 minutes. It was Matt. He made it almost to my house before he finally turned off. I have seen him a few times since, but thankfully he has kept his distance. He's now a Department of Transportation cop, and how funny it is that my now fiance drives a tractor trailer. I'm an 18-year-old female from the UK. This happened in February of 2019. I was 16 at the time. I got set up on a semi-blind date. We had seen photos of each other by a mutual friend. And this guy, we will call him Cameron. He was 19. Cameron seemed like your average guy, maybe a little much into video games and anime. But overall, nothing my friend told me about seemed off by him. Our mutual friend gave us each other's numbers. We texted for a night and decided to meet up in a Starbucks the next day since we were both free. I never like to meet new people this soon, but I figured since Cameron knew my friend, it couldn't possibly go wrong. I was mistaken. I arrived slightly early. Ordered my coffee since I never like guys to feel like they have to buy for me, and parked up on a seat facing away from the door and pulled out my book. I may be there for about 15 minutes, chilling out. I get a text saying he's here. So I'm like, great, I'm at this table. I feel a presence over my shoulder. I turn my head slightly in acknowledgement. He must be here. Before I even got the chance to squeak out a hello, his lips latched onto my neck, and he started sucking on my neck. Now, I don't like people touching my neck at the best of times. I'm very ticklish, and I get super uncomfortable by people even touching my neck. The few times that I've had massages or hair treatments, I've been holding on to my discomfort, and he's latched onto my neck like a leech. And this man smells horrendous. Kind of like dust personified. I freak out and elbow his chest to get him the hell off of me. He lets go and looks at me with this weird expression on his face. And then he laughs. It's really, really creepy, and I start to become alarmed. I ask him what the hell was that, and he just says, I thought it was cute. Cute? In what world, dude? I try to have a conversation. I'm like, okay, first impressions don't mean anything. Let's try and give him a chance. But he's just creepily staring at my chest. He says, wow, I didn't know Asians could have boobs like those. I better not let you go. Direct quote, I can't make this shit up. I'm distinctly uncomfortable, but I don't want to just run away. He's giving me really weird vibes. So I go into a ladies' bathroom and wait for someone else to come in. I ask her to help me get out undetected. I don't want this man following me home or something like that. She of course agrees, and she lends me her hat and scarf. It's February in the UK after all, and we came out of the bathroom together. She manages to help sneak out the back door of the Starbucks without him noticing. He asked my friend where I went, but I told my friend to never mention me ever again. I was too terrified. I know I probably didn't behave well. I should have just told him that I was leaving, but I was honestly just scared.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.